For 8 decades, aviation enthusiasts have debated one burning question: which propeller-driven fighter was truly the fastest of World War II? Today, that mystery is finally put to rest using official test data, wartime reports, and verified performance trials documenting maximum level flight speeds. What follows is a countdown of the 8 fastest piston-engine fighters that actually flew during the war. These were not mere prototypes or paper concepts. Each aircraft on this list was built, flown, and in most cases, fought in combat. Their astonishing speeds came from groundbreaking engineering, desperate innovation, and an unyielding drive to dominate the skies in humanity's most destructive conflict. Let's begin from number 8 and climb to the fastest propeller fighter of 1945. At number 8 stands Germany's Focke-Wulf FW-190D-9, which could reach 426 miles per hour. Nicknamed the Dora, or Long Nose, this version marked a major leap from the earlier radial-engine FW-190s that had terrorized Allied pilots since 1941. The D-9 replaced the BMW radial engine with a liquid-cooled inline Junkers Jumo 213A, requiring a longer nose that gave the plane its distinctive look. This transformation turned the FW-190 from a brutal low-altitude dogfighter into a sleek, high-performance interceptor capable of battling Allied bombers at altitude and dueling with the latest American and British fighters. Production began in August 1944, with over 700 units built before the war's end. Luftwaffe pilots praised its improved high-altitude capability while retaining the trademark roll rate and durability that made the 190 series legendary. In the desperate final months of the war, the Dora-9 fought valiantly against overwhelming odds in Germany's defense. Number 7 goes to Britain's Hawker Tempest MKV, which could hit 435 miles per hour. Designed as an improved successor to the Hawker Typhoon, the Tempest featured a thinner laminar flow wing and a powerful Napier Sabre engine that made it one of the Royal Air Force's most formidable low-altitude fighters. Entering service in April 1944, it arrived just in time to battle Germany's V-1 flying bombs. Its blistering low-level speed made it the most successful V-1 interceptor of the war, with Tempest squadrons destroying more than 800 of the pilotless weapons. British pilots learned to chase V-1s down in level flight and either shoot them out of the sky or use their wingtips to flip them off course. Yet the Tempest was equally deadly in air combat, combining speed, firepower, and superb handling to dominate German opponents. Throughout 1944-45, Tempest units achieved impressive kill ratios while supporting the Allied advance into Europe. Many pilots regarded it as the finest piston-engine fighter Britain ever produced. At number 6 comes the legendary Supermarine Spitfire Mk-14, capable of 446 miles per hour. This variant represented the pinnacle of development for the iconic fighter that had saved Britain in 1940. However, the Mk-14 was a very different machine from the early Spitfires. Its heart was the Rolls-Royce Griffon 65 engine, generating over 2,000 horsepower, twice that of the original Merlin engines. The enormous power increase demanded a stronger airframe and larger tail surfaces to control the added torque. The result was a Spitfire that climbed like a rocket and performed brilliantly at high altitudes where earlier versions faltered. First flown in January 1943, the Mk-14 entered operational service in early 1944 and quickly proved itself against Germany's latest fighters. It excelled at intercepting high-flying reconnaissance planes and even the new German jets, cementing its place among the fastest and most capable piston fighters of the war. The Rolls-Royce Griffon engine gave the Spitfire Mk-14 a level of acceleration that stunned German pilots who had grown used to easily outpacing earlier Spitfire versions. Over 900 of these aircraft were produced, serving with distinction until the war's end. Before moving into the top 5 fastest fighters, it's worth asking, where are you watching from, and which of these legendary machines do you think deserves the number 1 spot? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're enjoying this deep dive into World War II aviation, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future stories. At number 5 is America's Grumman F-8F Bearcat, capable of an incredible 455 miles per hour. Designed as the ultimate lightweight carrier fighter, the Bearcat was Grumman's answer to the Navy's need for a powerful aircraft that could still operate from smaller escort carriers, the so-called Jeep carriers, that played a vital role in the Pacific. Engineers began with the massive Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine, producing 2,100 horsepower, and built the smallest, lightest airframe possible around it. The result was astonishing. The Bearcat could climb to 10,000 feet in just 94 seconds, faster than any American fighter of its time. It had an exceptional roll rate, remarkable agility, and impressive firepower, carrying either 4 20mm cannons or 6.50 caliber machine guns. Unfortunately, the Bearcat arrived too late to see action in World War II, entering service in February 1945. Only 24 reached frontline squadrons before Japan's surrender that August. Still, those who flew it called it the finest handling propeller fighter ever built. In the post-war years, the Bearcat went on to serve as the aircraft of the U.S. Navy's Blue Angels demonstration team and set several time-to-climb records that stood for decades. The Republic P-47M Thunderbolt was flown exclusively by the 56th Fighter Group, the only unit to operate this specialized variant. The group had specifically requested a faster Thunderbolt to counter the growing threat of German jets appearing in Europe's skies. In practice, the P-47M proved to be both powerful and temperamental. Its advanced high-performance engine demanded meticulous maintenance, and early models suffered from serious reliability issues that grounded entire squadrons for weeks. Once those problems were resolved, however, the P-47M became a devastating weapon. It combined the Thunderbolt's legendary durability and heavy firepower with newfound speed that could match or surpass nearly every German piston-engine fighter. The 56th Fighter Group continued flying their P-47s until the war's end, scoring victories over both conventional Luftwaffe aircraft and early jets. The P-47M ultimately represented the very limit of what engineers could achieve with the Thunderbolt's rugged design. At number 2 stands Germany's extraordinary Dornier Do 335 File, or Pharaoh, capable of an astonishing 474 miles per hour. Unlike any other fighter of World War II, it featured a revolutionary push-pull engine configuration with one engine mounted in the nose and another at the tail, each driving its own propeller. This clever setup, using two Daimler-Benz DB603 engines, eliminated the drag of wing-mounted engines while effectively doubling available power. The result was a sleek and incredibly fast aircraft that outpaced almost everything in the sky. Armed heavily and built with strong armor, the Do 335 would have been a formidable combat machine, had it arrived sooner. Development delays plagued the project, and the first prototype did not fly until October 1943. Production models reached evaluation units only in early 1945, by which time Germany's war effort was collapsing. Fewer than 40 were completed, and none saw real combat. Still, post-war tests by Allied pilots confirmed its remarkable speed, smooth handling, and innovative design. They called it one of the best piston fighters ever built, a technological marvel that arrived 2 years too late to make a difference. In level flight, the P-51H Mustang came remarkably close to 500 miles per hour, but speed alone wasn't its only triumph. The aircraft's drastic weight reduction completely transformed its handling, giving it faster roll rates, quicker climbs, and far greater agility than any previous Mustang. Test pilots praised it as the finest handling variant ever built. It still retained the Mustang's famous range of more than 850 miles on internal fuel, allowing it to escort bombers deep into Japan while easily outrunning nearly any opponent. Production began in February 1945, and by August, 555 aircraft had been delivered. However, they arrived too late to see combat in Europe, and while a few reached the Pacific, none engaged in aerial combat before the war ended. Even so, the P-51H stood as the ultimate expression of propeller-driven fighter design, faster, lighter, and more advanced than anything else powered by a piston engine. These 8 extraordinary aircraft marked the absolute pinnacle of propeller-era aviation technology. Each one was born from humanity's most desperate conflict, when nations poured every possible resource into gaining even the slightest edge in the skies. The engineers who built them and the pilots who flew them pushed the limits of physics and design to achieve performance once thought impossible. What's most astonishing is how close their top speeds were. Only 61 miles per hour separated the German FW-190D-9 in 8th place from the American P-51H Mustang at number 1. Every single mile per hour gained was earned through relentless testing, tireless refinement, and ingenious wartime innovation. Each of these machines was a masterpiece of engineering, a blend of speed, power, and precision that often meant the difference between life and death in combat. Of course, speed wasn't the only factor that decided air battles. Maneuverability, firepower, range, reliability, and pilot skill all mattered just as much. Yet in a war where mere seconds could mean survival, where intercepting a bomber before it reached its target could save thousands of lives, and where outrunning superior enemy numbers meant living to fight another day, speed was the ultimate advantage. Now you know the 8 fastest propeller-driven fighters of World War II, ranked by documented performance data. Do you agree with this list? Or do you think another aircraft deserved a place among these legends? Let me know in the comments which fighter you believe was truly the fastest of them all.